Hi, how's everybody doing? Welcome back to What's Cooking in Bert's Kitchen. Today we're going to work on a dessert. I got into a conversation the other day with somebody and we started talking about some things, unique desserts. So if you make this one, trust me, you'll be the hit at the next dinner you serve it at. What we're going to make today is a bananas foster flan. Now if you've had bananas foster before, you know sauteed bananas in a rum caramel sauce. You've had flan before. It's a nice custard, creamy, thick, with a caramel sauce on top. I've always kind of combined the two, and today I'm going to show you how to do that. First thing we're going to need to do is preheat our oven to 325 degrees. Now while that's preheating, we're going to start working on our caramel sauce. What is caramel? In its most basic form, it's melted sugar, and that's exactly what we're going to do here. You're going to need a nice heavy-buttoned saucepan. You'll want to set it on the stove. Turn the burner up to 4 or 5, midway, because we don't want too intense of a heat melting this sugar. Now once it starts to warm up a little bit and the pan gets kind of warm, we're going to add half a cup of just regular old table sugar, white, pure cane, granulated sugar, the stuff everybody has in their house. Now this is the most difficult part of the dessert. There's a real trick to doing this. Do not get out a spoon and stir your sugar. Under no circumstances. You'll find out that you just wind up with clumps of sugar. When you want to stir it around, you swirl it very gently. This is really the most difficult part of this thing. All the rest of it is so very simple. So while that's starting to melt down, we're going to add the rum component. Now here I'm using rum extract. I got kids in the house. I don't really drink rum a lot. Nobody in this house really drinks all that much. So you could add a tablespoon of real rum if you wanted to. I would more than likely hit it with a some sort of flame, though, to burn off the alcohol. In this case, we've got rum extract. Now, since rum extract is an intensified flavor, we don't need a tablespoon. We just need a teaspoon. And it'll be more than prevalent. Now, while our caramel sauce is becoming caramel, we're going to work on the flan part. This is ever so simple. You'll be amazed at how simple it is. Get a nice mixing bowl here. And to that, we're going to add 3 eggs. Now we want to get a whip. Whip those 3 eggs thoroughly. And as you can see, they're a nice, thick, smooth yellow. There's no streaks of white at all in there. Now, this, like I said, this is very, very, very simple. What we want to add is one 14-ounce can of sweetened condensed milk. And this sweetened condensed milk is really quite thick, so you want to make sure you get all of it. This is very important, so you want to get a rubber spatula and scrape out as much of this as you possibly can. And then we're going to add one 12-ounce can of evaporated milk. Now, as I said, this is Bananas Foster Flan, so we want to add 1 teaspoon of banana extract. Yes, we're going to add bananas in here, but we really want to get that banana flavor going. Now, it's very important that every once in a while, every minute or so, you look back over on your sugar, because once it starts melting, it's going to melt down pretty fast. You don't want it to burn. Otherwise, you got to start from scratch again. So, once you see it starting to liquefy a little, you want to give it a swirl. And once again, I said, don't, get out a whisk like this and start beating it up, because you're just going to wind up with clumps of melted sugar. And swirl it very, very gently, because once it starts melting, that stuff becomes like napalm. So now we've mixed up our flan, our custard, and we're just swirling here. I still have a little bit of granulated sugar in the bottom. Swirl it ever so gently. You definitely do not want to get this on your skin. If you've ever melted sugar before, or made candy of any kind, you know that this stuff is culinary napalm. So here we have our rum caramel. It's nice and liquidy, and now we're going to have some real fun with it. Now, there are 2 ways you can do this. I'm going to do this in individual serving containers. If you really wanted to just serve it up as one full dessert, you could use a glass pie pan, cake pan, pour all of your caramel into the bottom of this and make it into one dish, and then serve it up in wedges like you would a cake. However, I'm going to do individual servings. So, what we want to do is pour just a little of this, very carefully, maybe about a tablespoon or so, into the bottom of the dish, and you want to swirl it around so that it covers the bottom of your dish. So there we have it, completely covering the bottom of the dish, going a little bit up the sides. Don't worry that it's solidifying. We're going to loosen it up before we serve it. I'll show you that trick too. It's really simple. Now the amount I have here will handle about 4 of these dishes. Which is nice because there's only 4 of us in the family. The amount of custard we have in here could make 5, 6, 7, 8, depending upon how thick or thin you want your flan. What it's really going to amount to is how much caramel is. Available to you. Now what we're going to do next, we're going to slice some bananas. Pretty simple. The reason I wanted to show you this, I'm sure you've all sliced a banana before, is I've talked about using a knife safely. Now you can do this with a butter knife. Okay, but it's a brilliant way to practice those knife skills that I was trying to teach you about when using sharp knives, to keep your fingers curled under like this so that the knife just rides up and down them. Now with the butter knife, no real potential for you slicing off your finger. However, it's a good way to practice this. You see we keep the knuckles there so that the knife goes up and down the knuckles and the thumb is in the back. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Now I'm only going to need 1 banana here. Now with that method, you can practice your knife skills and get a little faster with the butter knife, cutting bananas. There you go. Because this is not necessarily it feels unnatural, sort of like swinging a golf club. It takes practice to get used to it. However, once you do, you'll be oh so glad that you did. I set my ramekins in a large baking dish. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take my custard and divide it equally between the 4 dishes. Now you could do this with a ladle to be accurate. I was just kind of gauging as I went along, filling them all to a certain spot and then adding a little bit more as I went along. They come out pretty even. Now it's important that they're pretty even because we want them all to bake at the same time. What I'm doing is I'm adding 4 slices of banana. I could have put them on the bottom by the caramel. However, I like them to kind of rise to the top. Because when we turn this out, we're going to flip it upside down and the banana will be on the other end. Four slices pretty much covers the surface area in these creme brulee ramekins that I'm using. Okay. We're not just going to throw these in the oven. We're going to take this and place it, pull out the your oven rack to where it's accessible and place these in the oven as such. Now what we're going to do is we're going to pour water in here and make this a water bath. A bain-marie, if you want to sound like you went to some sort of French cooking school. Now we want it to come up maybe about an inch. On the ramekins. And there we go. So in this case, with the big dish I have, it was about 6 cups. Now, we'll gently push our rack back in. Close the door. Set our timer for 45. Now in 45 minutes, they'll come out. We're going to set them aside to cool to room temperature. Then we'll wrap them individually, stick them in the fridge for a few hours, and I'll show you how to turn them out and present a stunning dessert. Okay, so it's been 45 minutes. Let's check our flan and see how they look. Now, don't remove them from the oven. What we want to do is get a small paring knife and just give them a poke and see it's come out clean. So we know they're done. Now we can remove them from the oven. Had I come out with goop sliding all over the side, we know they're not done. Put them back in, give it another 10 minutes, check them again. And do that at 10-minute increments until they're done. But here in this case, they are done. Turn off the oven. So get yourself a nice hot pad. Grab them by the side. Pull them out of the water bath. And set them on the counter for about 45 minutes or so. They'll come to room temperature. At which point, we will wrap them and put them in the fridge for an hour. Okay. So our flans have come down to room temperature. Basically just want to cover them in plastic wrap. Find a nice spot in the fridge. And let them chill for at least an hour or till after dinner. Okay, so our desserts are completely cooled. Remove them from the fridge. You'll notice I have a pan sitting on the stove here. It's got water in it. We want to get that hot. So crank up your temperature there. We want to get that hot. That's how we're going to soften up our caramel at the bottom of these cold dishes. Now you'll notice that the bananas rose right to the top, stayed at the top there. And when we turn this over, we'll have them right at the bottom. And the caramel sauce will ooze all over the top. So we'll put that in our hot water. Now you don't want too much water in there, just enough to about an inch below the lip of the cup. You don't want to get water into your dessert. And while it's sitting in there, you want to take a nice paring knife and just run it directly around the edge, as close to the edge as you possibly can, so that it will loosen up and come out when we unplate it. Okay, so there we go. Alright, so we want to remove this from the water. Get yourself a nice dessert plate. Set it on top like such. And then flip your dessert over. Give it a couple of little taps. It should come right out. And there we have one beautiful, beautiful banana Foster flan. Okay, so you're saying to yourself, yeah, he did a good job. It looks beautiful, but how does it taste? Well, let me tell you. Absolutely perfect. Just that hint of rum there in the caramel sauce, that banana flavor, that flan texture. Trust me, you make this very simple dessert. Next time you have company, you can start charging them rent. They're not going to leave. Thanks for spending a little time with us today, and come back next time. Find out what's cooking in Bert's kitchen.